It's Don here from the board, and what you would have just seen would have been the time lapse of me finally putting together the Downbubble split ergonomic keyboard. It's been a very long project. It's taken over a year to get to this metal prototype because my 3D printed prototype has actually been at work and in use for quite a while. Now, I didn't show putting on the keycaps earlier in that time lapse, and so there were some kind of issues that arose with what I had originally intended. I was going to put an SA keycap set on here that I acquired. However, I discovered that the keycaps were very loose to the point where I could actually flick the keycaps off. So I've actually got them here, and it's not that I'm blaming anybody for it. Let's just find a 1U keycap. Okay, so here's V, and I'm just gonna take one off, and I could put that on it, and it comes off. So I didn't really want to go to the hassle of having to, maybe put a bit of plastic or wax over every single switch to make this key set usable. So I decided to put on this Akko World Tour Tokyo set, which, funnily enough, because I got box pinks in here, actually suit the general overall color scheme. And with the novelties, I was actually able to completely fill it without having to use any extras. The only one that doesn't match profile properly is the cat, because that's meant to be the enter, and the bonsai, since it's meant to be a row 1, whereas everything else fits just fine. It's already tested on switch header and everything works, so I'm really happy with that. The only thing that I kind of need to do now for, I suppose, long-term functional is to have a wrist rest to match, because it is quite a thick board. We're talking, 30 mils or so, right? I think 25 or 30 mils? 35 mils. Okay, so we're talking 35 mils, over an inch in actual height. So having a wrist rest will support that. It's currently a neutral angle because there's no feet on it, but I can put bump-ons to give it a slight negative if I want to, and of course the cable has heaps of clearance to enable that to happen as well. Plus the pen grooves, so I can put, pens, fancy pens or not fancy pens in them, however I like. My fountain pens, that kind of thing. And they won't sort of go anywhere. Now, of course, box pinks. I would have already shown the video, hopefully, of me checking out box pinks and comparing them to other box switches. So all that's really left is just a sound sample, a typing sound sample of this final keyboard. So without much else, so the things that I've done to this is I've actually shrink wrapped, heat shrink tubed the stabilizer bars, and I've also lubed the stabilizers, and it's band-aid modded as well. And I've actually got silicone O-rings under each one of these keycaps. So it's been dampened as much as possible to reduce the bottom out sound and pinging, because there is so much cavity space within this actual case that there was going to be a potential for a lot of echo and reverb. So by doing those, it's really helped reduce that significantly, and you're getting more of that muted box pink switch sound, which is what I really enjoyed out of this. I had a design flaw in this, and the boo-boo that I did was I didn't actually provide sufficient clearance space underneath for the stabilizer bar, for the actual wire. So the PCB is soldered to the switches and it's hanging off the switches which are mounted in the tray, but the actual housing for the stabilizers where the stabilizer bars clip into is actually contacting the case. It's a bit of a workaround in that it works, but it obviously wasn't optimum. And just as well, these box pinks are plate mount switches and not PCB mount switches, because the pins don't protrude past the PCB, and I had to flood the actual switch pin wells, as you may have seen, quite extensively to ensure good contact. But I'm fairly confident that it's not going to be an issue. But if I was to go forward into the next version of this keyboard, then I would ensure that there is actually clearance in that layer, or I would reduce the 3.5mm that I've got here to maybe, 2mm instead, so it gives a bit more clearance for the actual stabilizer housings and wire. And that's the reason why the return on these is a little bit slower on that than, it has a slightly dampened sound because it's actually a bit tighter in that it's got contact against the casing. So, it's been a really fun project. It's taken a lot of time and effort, and I'm really glad that we've actually got here. I don't know if there's much need for me to go further in the design or to even run an interest check or group buy, because I don't know what the community thinks of it in terms of the layout. It's certainly not the most common of layouts, and there are split ergo keyboards that have numpads now starting to appear in the middle, but they're certainly not rotated for one, and they're certainly not as high with the concept of negative angle. Noting the EXT65 from AE Keyboards is recently released as well, and they've got the changeable piece on the bottom. I'm just cracking up because my daughter in the background is just yelling out that she's finished in the bathroom and needs somebody to help her to wipe. Hey, family life. That's just how it is. So, if you guys see this and you really think that there is value for me to go forward with a next iteration of this, possibly to work with a proper PCB designer to get the components as onboard SMD components, because right now these are designed as daughterboard because I'm using the AT 1290 USB, right? Sorry, the AT 1290, I don't know, whatever it is, that long thing, right? You'll have to check my previous videos to find out. But that would actually reduce that height and give the opportunity for this to be more of a standard sized keyboard. And of course, with AE Keyboards work and design on having that removable base, we could work together on that and bring this layout into something that's a bit more, I suppose, reasonable to most people rather than just people who enjoy chunky, heavy keyboards. So it's done. It's a beast. It's over 2 kilos. The plywood actually, I can slide this around, but on a mat, and once I put some feet on it, if I'm going to give it that slight tilt, I feel like it will probably not go very far anytime soon. And if you need to pick a fight with somebody, this will probably be counted as a lethal weapon in a court of law. So there we have it. The Downbubble project, phase 1, 3D printed, done. Phase 2, machined aluminium, done. Will there be a phase 3? I don't know. That all depends on if the community says we want a phase 3. So please let me know below in the comments on Reddit, Facebook, Slack, email, whatever means, if you would like me to take this on and go forward, work with the right people, collaborate, and bring the next revision out to the greater community. So, yeah, that's it. If you like this kind of stuff, if you like to see the crazy designs I come up with, please hit that like button. If you want somebody else to check this out, please hit that share button. And of course, you're just hanging out the back trying to get attention, aren't you? And if you like mechanical keyboard content and would like to keep in touch with all the kind of stuff that I create, please make sure you also hit that subscribe button too. I'm going to say goodbye now. Are you going to say bye-bye to people? Alright. Well, thanks for coming along and checking out this video. And of course, as usual, until next time, happy clacking.